Several of you have been requesting that I do a video on I2P. If this is something that you've never heard of, you can think of I2P as another way of accessing the dark web. So it's similar to Tor, but it's actually more focused on hidden services. So on Tor, you know that every site that ends with a .onion domain, that is a hidden service, and you can only access it through Tor. I2P has their own version of these hidden services called EAP sites, which end with a .I2P. Which you can only access through I2P. Now, the implementation of these networks is also different. So with Tor, we're mostly looking at a browser. So Tor has a very specific functionality. You can do other things over Tor, but it's a bit hacky. Whereas with I2P, originally it was designed to anonymize IRC traffic, but the devs decided to add support for file sharing, telnet, email, and web hosting. So I2P is more of a protocol than just a browser bundle. With Tor, we have onion routing, where people have to volunteer to run nodes that act as routers on the network, sort of bouncing traffic all over the world to anonymize it. With I2P, everyone is a router. Everyone using it is a router. And they call this garlic routing. So it's very different than Tor because there's no exit node. So you can't go and connect to the ClearNet, the regular internet, through I2P, at least not on a regular I2P configuration. There are plugins that will let you access that as well as .onion sites, but regularly you're only going to be going to .I2P sites. So it's more of a peer-to-peer network, which in a way makes it a bit more secure than Tor, at least when you're using Tor on non-hidden services, because none of your communications are going to be going outside of this anonymizing network. So let's get started with the installation. You can go ahead and download it from their main website. It works on many different platforms. So here we have like the Windows and Mac OS downloads. Obviously on Windows, it's a little bit redundant to use I2P. I mean, it'll work, but you have to admit that Windows is kind of compromised when it comes to privacy. So trying to use a private anonymizing network on top of it, probably not the best idea. So there's, of course, Linux downloads as well. One thing that I will say about the Linux download, so of course you can download it from the site, which is what I'm going to show you, but some distros might have it in their repositories. Like Gentoo does have it in the repository, but I'm not going to be using this version because they only offer up 0.9.48, and I couldn't find any overlays that had an updated version. So you got to keep in mind, with I2P, this is in the description up here, it's a privacy-centric anonymous network. So this is the type of thing that gets attacked by a lot of people, including nation states, to try and find vulnerabilities. So it's really a good idea to make sure that you're using the latest version. If you're an Arch user, then you should be good. The latest versions should be in the AUR. But if you're on Gentoo, or if you're using some distro that doesn't even have it, then you're going to want to download this jar file. And of course, I2P requires Java, so make sure that you have the latest version of that installed. And once the jar file is downloaded, you can go ahead and cd into the directory and just go ahead and run this command here to get started with the installer. So that's going to launch a Gui Installer, which is pretty straightforward to follow. Then you to launch it, you want to use this command here. So like the Gui Installer by default is going to install it to your home directory. You can of course change that to another directory if you want. And you're just pointing to this program here, I2P router. You could just cd into it and then do I2P router start. And then that's going to go ahead and start it up. It also should open up a web browser that takes you to this page. So 127.0.0.1, and then you're on port 7657, welcome. So this is where you basically do a bandwidth check to figure out how much bandwidth based on how good your connection is that you can share, and then how much you should be downloading. So obviously that's going to vary depending on how good your internet connection is. So I guess I'll go through this. I don't think that it shows any sensitive information. So it's doing a test to try and figure out how good my connection is. All right, so it's completed. And let's see, it shows the test server location, but that's fine. So yeah, it's showing my connection, which is really good. You know, I got a fiber connection, so about 1 gigabit symmetrical. Generally, you want to be giving more of your bandwidth to the I2P network. Like, you don't really want to be leeching. So you want to think of it sort of like with torrenting, right? So you want your seed ratio to obviously be higher than your download ratio. Same thing with I2P. So by default, it's going to be configured to give 75% of the network bandwidth, but like you can see over here, it configured mine to 80%. So I don't know if that's just because I have like a really fast connection. I mean, I didn't change this. That's the same way when I first fired it up. So yeah, we'll go to next. And then it tells you that your browser needs to be configured to use I2P. And they give you some instructions for how to do it. Because, you know, I2P, it's not a browser bundle like Tor. So it's a little bit, there's more setup to do, right? It's not really like click and go like Tor is. But I'll just show you what you got to do there real quick. So we need to go into the network settings. I can never remember where that is. I think I scrolled past it. Let's be under general. Here we go, network settings. So this is how you want it to be configured. Go to manual proxy configuration and just put in for your HTTP proxy 127.0.0.1, port 4444. And then you can go ahead and also check that, and then check this for SOCKS 5 proxy and put it down here, no proxy for localhost or 127.0.0.1. Now, this browser, well, not the entire browser, but this profile is going to be configured to use I2P. So like, I can't go to any other site after this is configured. So you're probably going to want to use a like a specific profile for this to use I2P, just so that you don't have to go and change those browser settings back and forth. And there we go. So now you should be connected to I2P. You can always go to 127.0.0.1 and then the port 7657/config. And this is going to let you take a look at your configuration and your status. So like you can see the peers that I'm connected to, that's fairly normal. You can see the network status. So my status is firewalled, which honestly, I think that this might be a false positive because I don't have any local firewalls running on Gen 2. I don't have like any on my router. So not entirely sure, but if your setting is okay or firewalled, then you're good. If you have any of these like warn or error settings, then you have a problem with the connection, and it gives you instructions about what to do. But my connection is good. Now, again, I keep saying this, but it's a peer-to-peer network. So if you're not used to dealing with peer-to-peer networks, one of the things about them, which is, I guess, fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, but you don't connect to everything right away. It sort of takes a while for it to build out tunnels to the different EAP sites. So you can see like my uptime here is 18 hours that I've been connected to I2P. And at this point, it's fairly usable. Like there's still some links that don't work, and it's kind of hard to know whether these are links that are genuinely dead or whether I just haven't built out a connection to them yet. But if you start this up right away, don't expect to be able to access a whole lot of sites. I was going to make this video yesterday, but even after like 2 hours that I was connected, there still weren't a whole lot of sites that were available to me. Maybe my network really is firewalled and there's just something else that I have to look into, because this isn't the best case scenario for using I2P when you're firewalled. One other way that you can use this, and I think this is actually the way that they recommend it using I2P if you're going to use it a lot, is to actually spin up a VPS and keep that constantly connected to I2P. So that's going to be able to build out a whole lot of different tunnels. And then if you want to connect to an EAP site through I2P, you just go ahead and SSH to that VPS, and then you can go ahead and do it that way. So anyway, I think that's enough like intro and settings. Let's actually get into I2P. So how do you find EAP sites? It's very similar to how you find links on Tor. You want to find a site that has links indexed, like this one, identiguy.i2p. And there's a disclaimer up here. So they've not visited any of these EAP sites. They might contain offensive, illegal, or mediocre content. That's something you have to keep in mind whenever you're accessing any darknet, is that there's a lot of things on here that are criminal activities, and some things might be illegal even for you to view them. So keep that in mind if you're on like a monitored network. This is also another reason why I don't recommend using Windows to do it, because if you download things from I2P, then Windows and Microsoft is going to be made aware of that. So it's definitely better to use a free open source operating system whenever you're accessing it. So anyway, we have these names, these host names for the site. Now, this is one way of viewing host names, but there's another one which is called a B32 address, which looks more similar to the type of website names that you see on Tor. We'll get into that in a minute, but like, let's just try to go to one. This one's probably safe, bible.i2p. Oh, actually, I guess I'll show an example of the jump service now, because I couldn't find this link. So those easy to remember addresses, they're optional, but again, there's the B32 addresses, which can be used all the time. And sometimes you have to go through a jump service to get to them to find it. So why don't I just use this one, stats.i2p jump service. Oh, well, I got denied because of excessive requests. Let's see, can I do it through not Bob? Okay, so here I have a B32 link. Let's see if that's able to load this Bible page. No, looks like that didn't work. Okay, I thought that was the one I did earlier. Maybe it was this one. So I did suss out some of these links earlier just to make sure that that they're obviously safe. Okay, yeah, this is the one, uncensored Bible for the darknet. Yeah, so here you go. That's an example of a site that you can see on I2P. And then, of course, you can change the language that you want your Bible to be in. And you can also change the translation that you want it to be in. And then you can change the book, whichever Bible you want to look at. All right, I'm going to try and show you guys an example of this jump service thing. I'll just close these. All right, so we'll go to the address book service. And this is another one of those main I2P sites, by the way, stats.i2p. And we'll look at host lookup and jump forms. Okay, so here, so whenever you find an I2P link that just isn't working, like some of these here, We might try the Bible one again, but we got a different error. So paste it into here, remove the HTTP and the forward slashes, then click jump. This one might not work actually, because apparently it hasn't been around since September 2011. We'll see. I'm not getting very good luck with this so far. But we'll see. It looks like it's still trying to jump. Let's just go to another one. Address book services. All right, this one might work. I think this is actually Adrian Crenshaw's I2P. 2019. All right, let's see. Okay, this one looks like it's working, and maybe this one is working too now. So this is what you'll get whenever you find a new address through a jump service. So you have an option of saving this to your address book. So you can just choose one of these three. And then we should be able to access that Iron Geeks website now. And then this one failed, because yeah, I think that site is just down. Let's maybe find another one, just in case that one doesn't work. Let's see. Maybe we could try this one. It looks like it's loading it. It's trying to load it. All right, so we have another one. Add to the address book. It's going to redirect us. Might try this since it's not redirecting me automatically. Now it's telling us unreachable. All right, I might have found one that's going to work, since this was at least last seen today. So let's see. I tried a couple other ones while the video was paused just to sort of try and show you guys. All right. So let's see if we can go to this site now. Other things. Is this? This is the last one I'll try. If this doesn't work, then I'll just move on to the next thing, which was search engines. Because there are some. I mean, you know, it's just like Torch, but just for I2P. All right, this isn't working, so we'll just move on to search engines for now. So legwork.i2p, this is one of the search engines that you can use for I2P. So like if we just look up hacking, all right, that's probably something that people that are surfing I2P would be interested in. We could search for that, and then it's going to take a little while to send our query. And then here we go. So we have the results. These are all I2P sites. And then you can also see when they were last checked or indexed. So like a lot of these probably aren't going to work because that's at least 2 months ago at this point. I don't know. We'll see. You know, if it happens to load, we'll take a look at it. Oh, we have to register for that form. Okay, that's unfortunate. And then these are a few years old. So yeah, as you saw, this darknet, it's a little bit trickier to use. Like it's not just, you know, start it up and go like Tor. Even though I've been up for 18 hours, there's still some connections that aren't very good. Yeah, 12 out of 70 peers. And there isn't, well, there actually might be more hidden services on I2P than Tor. Not exactly sure, but if you just kind of loiter around on I2P, and then loiter around on Tor, you're gonna find more things on Tor because it's just a much more popular darknet. But there are some nice little nuggets on I2P. There's a lot of like hacking and security forums, which unfortunately I couldn't really show too much in this video. But some of the ones that I was able to go on earlier, they had some interesting stuff. So it's definitely worth exploring EAP sites and using I2P, especially since it has the potential to mix traffic so much better than Tor can.